Good morning, students. Today we are going to see Module 5. Under Module 5, you have two subdivisions. The first one is going to be time varying fields and Maxwell's equation. And second half of your Module 5 will discuss about the wave propagation equation and the applications with respect to your electromagnetic theory. Under time varying field and Maxwell's first equation, before we understand the concept of the Maxwell's equation, we should understand the concept of electrostatics, how it is going to react with steady magnetic field, steady state field and time varying field. What is meant by a time varying field and what is meant by steady state field? What is the difference between time varying field and steady state field? Next, Faraday's law. If we are going to focus on steady state field, how the Faraday's law is going to react at the output of the EMF induced. If it is going to related to the time varying field, what will be the equation pertaining to Faraday's law? In Faraday's law, we have the concept of E is equal to minus n into d phi divided by dt. So why we are going to use that negative sign in the induced EMF, that will be discussed by means of the Lenz's law. First, as a part of the introduction, first we'll see what is meant by an electrostatic field. So when you are having an electric field or a magnetic field, there will be a force exerted. For example, if you consider two charges, when two charges are placed d meter apart, due to the interaction of these two charges, there may either be a force of attraction or force of repulsion. In like charges repel each other, whereas the unlike charge attract each other. So here the force acting on unit positive test charge is going to exhibit an electric field. When you consider any application, it is not only having the property of electrostatics, it will also have magnetostatics. When you are going to consider the electromagnetic theory, that is the application that is related to any of your electrical appliances, it is going to deal both on your electrostatics as well as on your magnetostatics. Therefore, the total force exhibiting will be the summation of the electrostatic force and magnetostatic force. When you are going to consider the electrostatic force, here the force is developed due to your static charges. So we know that the electric force can be defined, electric field intensity can be defined as force exhibiting on unit positive test charge. From this, if you write F is equal to Q into E, so when you look at this particular equation, it is related to the force that is due to a static electric charge. But when you are coming back to your magnetic field intensity, this magnetic field intensity is coming under the concept of your inductor. When you pass a current through the inductor, it is going to store energy in the form of a magnetic field. Current is nothing but flow of electrons. Flow of electrons is nothing but movement of the charge. At what velocity the charge is going to move. So when your charge is going to move with a velocity of u meter per second, in the presence of your magnetic field intensity of magnetic flux density, then your magnetic forces will exhibit. Therefore, the total force exhibiting in an electromagnetic theory will be the summation of your electrostatic force and magnetostatic force. Looking at the equation over here, when you look at the equation of your electrostatic force, here the force is exhibited due to the static charge. When you consider your magnetic force equation, it is exhibited due to the movement of your electrical charge with a velocity u in the presence of your magnetic flux density of magnetic field intensity. Therefore, here what you have to consider is the Lorentz force equation for any analysis of your application with respect to electromagnetics. Again, we have to focus on whether it is going to exhibit the property under steady state field or time varying field. When you are going to consider your magnetic force, it is going to move with a electric charge with a uniform velocity, or the static magnetic charge. The time varying fields or waves are usually due to the accelerated charges of time varying current. So this is the concept that we have to utilize it in the concept of applying when you are going to apply the electromagnetic concept in wave propagation equation. When you consider a static charge, electrostatic field, as we all know that the force exhibiting due to the electric charges Fe, that is the electrical force, will be electrostatic force is equal to Q into E. Here Q is nothing but a charge which is going to be the static charge, stationary charge. It is not moving, it is stationary. Therefore, the stationary charge means you will have only electrostatic field. When you are having a steady state current, then it is going to be your magnetostatic current, magnetostatic field. Electromagnetic waves, if you are assuming, then it is going to be the time varying current. Means when you are having a steady state current, your x-axis is going to be your time axis, y-axis is going to be your magnitude axis. When you see the magnitude with respect to time, it will not get vary. So the value will remain constant, or it is going to be the steady state value. In case of your time varying field, your magnitude will change with respect to time. You could see the variation in the magnitude with respect to time, and again when you see the magnitude of the waveform as shown here, the magnitude is getting varied as the time is getting progressed. Therefore, time varying current comes under the application of your electromagnetic field, or it will comes under waves. Faraday's law discovered that EMF induced in any closed circuit is equal to the rate of change of magnetic flux. We know that Faraday's law, E is equal to minus N into d phi divided by dt. So here we have two laws. Faraday's first law states that whenever the rate of change of flux linked with the coil changes, that is d phi divided by dt is nothing but rate of change of flux linked with the coil is getting changed and EMF is induced. It is going expressed as minus N into d phi divided by dt. Now the concept of time varying field. First we should understand what is meant by a steady state field and what is meant by a time varying field. Steady state field, for example, you consider your electrostatic field. You consider it is your time axis, and the waveform what I am drawing, it is the magnitude. If you see the magnitude of the wave, it is remaining constant throughout the time axis. So where at t is equal to t1 or time t is equal to t2 or time t is equal to t3, the magnitude v or I or power, it is going to remain constant. So if your magnitude is not going to get vary with respect to time, then it is called as your steady state field. Time varying field means your magnitude of the quantity, electrical quantity will vary. You can see here the magnitude is getting varied. So at time t is equal to t1, you could see the magnitude is v1. At time t is equal to t2, you can see the magnitude is v2. Similarly, at time t is equal to t4, you could see the magnitude is 0. So from time to time, the quantity is going to get varied. In case of your time varying field, with respect to time, the magnitude of the quantity, it could either be your voltage or current or power, or it could be of any field like electric field or magnetic field, it is going to get varied. So the time varying electric field can produce by time varying magnetic field, and time varying magnetic field can be produced by the time varying electric field. The equation describing the relationship between your charge between changing the electric and magnetic field is known as Maxwell's equation. When you consider here, when you consider the Faraday's law, E is equal to minus N into d phi divided by dt. So d phi is nothing but the flux. D phi by dt is nothing but rate of change of flux. When you relate the flux with the magnetic flux density, B is equal to phi divided by area. So when you are looking at this equation, when you relate this change in flux with respect to your flux density, here your time varying electric field can produce a time varying magnetic field. So time varying electric field is going to produce a time varying magnetic field, or the time varying magnetic field is going to produce a time varying electric field. So giving the relationship between the changing your electric and magnetic field, it is known as your Maxwell's equation. Now, Maxwell's equation are the extension of the known work of your Gauss's law, Faraday's law, and Ampere's law. When you are going to write the Maxwell's equation, it is going to focus only on these three laws, that is Gauss's law, Faraday's law, and Ampere's law. Gauss's law, when you consider, it is going to be the Gauss's law for electrostatics and Gauss's law for magnetostatics. Faraday's law, it is going to be common, whereas the Ampere's law is going to focus only on magnetostatics. When you write the Maxwell's equation, Gauss's law in electrostatics, it is going to see the equation integral over the closed surface d dot ds is equal to q. It is nothing but the electric flux density coming out from any closed surface is equal to the charge enclosed. It is Gauss's law in electrostatics. In the same way, if you write the Gauss's law in magnetostatics, you can write the magnetic flux density coming out from any closed surface is equal to 0 without violating the rules of the already framed equations. Next, we are going to see about the Faraday's law. Faraday's law we'll discuss in detail. The last one is going to be your Ampere's law. Ampere's law states that the magnetic field intensity coming out from any closed surface is equal to the current enclosed in that surface. This is just like in a short circuited path only the current flows. In a closed circuit only the current flows. So this is going to describe the equation of your magnetic field intensity. So Ampere's law is completely focused only towards your magnetostatics. Gauss's law both on your electrostatics as well as your magnetostatics. Faraday's law, a combination of your electrostatics and magnetostatics, where you can change the time varying electric field to time varying magnetic field and time varying magnetic field to time varying electric field. There are two forms of Maxwell's equation. First one is going to be your integral form and the second one is going to be your differential form or point form. Next is Faraday's law. Faraday's comprises of two laws. The first law will describe the induction of the EMF in the conductor. So the first law will describe about the EMF induced in the conductor and the second law will quantify the EMF induced in the conductor. So these two laws will describe how the EMF is going to get induced in a conductor and how we are going to quantify the EMF produced in the conductor. First we will see the Faraday's first law of electromagnetic induction. Whenever a conductor is placed in a varying magnetic field, an electromotive force is induced. If the conductor circuit is closed, then a current is induced which is called as your induced current. Your first law says you have a magnet where in between the magnet there will be a field existing because magnet is naturally the magnet is having the property of having the magnetic field in between them. So in this, if you are placing a conductor, it cuts the lines of magnetic field, thereby an EMF is induced. If this circuit is going to be closed with any external load resistance, then it causes the current to flow through the circuit, which is called as your induced current. That is why the law is described as when a conductor is placed in a varying magnetic field, an electromotive force is induced, and if the conductor circuit is going to be a closed circuit, then a current is flown, which is called as your induced current. You can see the circuit describing the concept of changing magnetic field because your time varying field comprises of changing electric field. The time varying electric field is changed to a time varying magnetic field, or the time varying magnetic field is changed to a time varying electric field. Therefore, changing the magnetic field in the closed loop. What is the cause? Like we can conduct an experiment where the magnetic field, you are having a current coil of wire. When you pass a current through this coil of wire, then it stores energy in the form of magnetic field, which is given as H is equal to Ni divided by L. N is the number of turns in the coil, I is the current passing through the coil, and L is going to be the length of the conductor. When you are making the bar magnet to move to and fro, when you are making the bar magnet to move to and fro, then it causes the lines of flux to cut. So by rotating the coil relative to the magnet, you can make the magnetic field to change, or by moving the coil in and out of this magnetic field, because once the magnetic field is created, if you are moving the magnet in and out, then there will be a change in your magnetic field. And also if you change the area of the coil placed in the magnetic field, it is possible for us to have the change in magnetic field. Also by moving a magnet towards to and fro from the coil, you can find the change in magnetic field. These are all some of the ways how we can change the magnetic field in a closed loop. Faraday's second law. Faraday's second law states that the EMF is induced when you are going to have a rate of change of flux linkages, that is E is equal to minus N into d phi divided by dt. Whenever the flux link with the coil changes, an EMF is induced. That is the statement given over here. Next, the flux is the product of number of turns in the coil and the flux associated with the coil. We know that L is equal to N phi divided by I. And also flux phi is nothing but flux phi is equal to Li divided by N. When you are going to consider the flux, it is also going to be associated with the number of turns in the coil and also the flux associated with the coil. So the formula for the Faraday's law can be given as E is equal to minus N into d phi divided by dt. It is going to be the rate of change of flux with respect to time, where E is going to be the electromagnetic force, phi is the magnetic flux, and N is your number of turns. Faraday's law derivation. Now consider a magnet approaching towards the coil. So here you have a coil at two instances, that is T1 and T2 are going to be the two instances. Now we need to identify what is the change in flux at time T1 and what is the change in flux at time T2. Now flux linkage with the coil 1 is at time T1 is given as T1 is equal to N into phi 1. For example, we know that the induced EMF E is equal to N into d phi divided by dt. In general, you can write N phi by I. E is equal to N phi divided by L is equal to N phi divided by I. N phi is nothing but flux linkages. So flux linkage at time T1 is equal to N into phi 1. Similarly, the flux linkage with the coil at time T2 is given as T2 is equal to N into phi 2. Therefore, what is the total flux linkage? Total flux linkage will be N phi 1 and N phi 2. The change in flux linkage at from time T1 to T2, what is the change in flux link with the coil? It is N into phi 2 minus phi 1. Therefore, we can write the change in flux linkage as phi is equal to phi 2 minus phi 1. Hence, the change in flux linkage is given by N phi, where phi is equal to, where this phi is nothing but change in flux linkage, which is phi 2 minus phi 1. Phi 2 is the flux link with the coil at time T2. Phi 1 is the flux link with the coil at time T1. The rate of change of flux linkages is given as N phi divided by T. Taking the derivative for the above equation, we'll get N into d phi divided by dt. This is going to be the proof for your EMF equation, that is Faraday's law. Now when you are going to consider the Faraday's second law of induction, we know that the induced EMF in the coil is equal to the rate of change of flux link with the coil. Therefore, we can write E is equal to N into d phi divided by dt. d phi by dt is going to be the rate of change of flux link with the coil. N is your number of turns. Now, if you consider the Lenz's law in Faraday's, then you will be getting E is equal to minus N into d phi divided by dt. Why we are going to get this negative sign, we'll see when we are going to analyze the Lenz's law. So this is all about the Faraday's law, about the first law, second law, and what is the equation pertaining to the EMF induced. First law will describe about the EMF induced in the conductor, whereas second law will quantify the EMF induced in the conductor. Next we are going to see Lenz's law. Lenz's law states that the induced electromagnetic force with different polarities induces a current. whose magnetic field opposes the change in magnetic flux through the loop in order to ensure the original flux is maintained through the loop when the current flows through it. So it opposes the very cause of producing it. That is their Lenz law statement. So according to the Lenz law, you have to conduct 3 experiments stating that it is going to give a like it is going to produce a negative path, like reverse path with respect to the original one. Here we have shown a magnet with north pole and south pole. In between this we are going to place the conductor. So through this conductor the current starts to flow. So when the current starts to flow, there is a magnetic field, it cuts the lines of flux. To the movement of the wire, or to the movement of the direction of the current, your field will be perpendicular. So in the first experiment what we are showing is, when you are going to pass a current through the coil in the circuit, then your magnetic field is produced. It is just like a coil. When you pass a current through this coil, it is going to store energy in the form of a magnetic field, which is given as Ni divided by L. So your first experiment is something dealing about the magnetic field or the magnetic energy stored in the conductor. When you're going to pass a current in the coil, then the magnetic field lines is going to produce. As the current flows through the coil increases, the magnetic flux decreases. For example, H is equal to Ni divided by L. So I is nothing but the current. So as you are going to increase the current, the magnetic field intensity is also increased. Which is nothing but B is equal to mu into H. When the magnetic field intensity is increased, then the magnetic flux density will also get increased, and hence the relationship between phi and B is phi divided by area. When your magnetic flux density is increased, obviously the magnetic flux induced in the coil will also increase. Next, the direction, what will be the direction? Magnitude wise, okay. But when you are going to have any analysis, it is going to be related only with respect to your vector quantity. Vector quantity is something like it is going to have both your magnitude as well as your direction. So the direction of the flow of your induced current will be such a way that it opposes when the magnetic flux increases. So as your magnetic flux goes on increasing, we know that L is equal to N phi divided by I. Here as your magnetic flux is increased, you can say the value of your inductance is increases, but the value of the current will be in opposite direction. So as the direction of the flow of your induced current, that how we are going to identify the direction in the sense, when your flux is going to increase, it opposes the value of the induced current in the opposite direction. Because inductance is something like which opposes your flow of current, because I is equal to V divided by Z. Z not only depends upon your inductance, not only depends upon the resistance, it is also going to be depend upon your inductance, that is R plus JXL minus JXC. So when the inductance value is going to increase, then 2 pi FL, your complete impedance, inductive reactance is going to increase, which causes the current to reduce. Therefore, the direction of the flow of induced current would be such that it opposes when the magnetic flux increases. Now coming back to your second experiment, with the same diagram you have to explain the second experiment. In the second experiment, when the current carrying conductor wound on the iron rod, so it is in the first experiment it is going to be the normal conductor. Now when your current carrying conductor is wounded on the iron rod, behaving as north pole, and it moves, because iron rod means it is going to get force of attraction or force of attraction repulsion between the two magnets. So it is going to behave as a north pole, and when it is moved towards southern coil, a current will get induced. That is, movement of the conductor causes a current to flow through the coil. Now the third experiment is dealing about the coil when it is pulled towards the magnetic flux. So when you are going to pull this particular conductor or the coil towards your magnetic flux, then the coil linked with it goes on decreasing, which means the area of the coil inside the magnetic field will decrease. like when you are going to change this conductor position, then the flux will get changed, which in turn it is also depending upon the area. Based on this formula, B is equal to phi divided by A. When your phi is going to get changed, even the area of the coil inside the magnetic field will get changed. So according to Lenz's law, the motion of the coil is opposed when the induced current is applied in the same direction. To produce the current, force is exerted by the magnet in the loop. To oppose the change of force must be exerted in the current on the magnet. Now we'll see some applications of your Lenz's law. It is going to be applied for eddy current balance, metal detector, eddy current dynamometer, braking systems on train, AC generator, card readers, microphones. So these are all going to be the certain applications of your Lenz's law. Now in this class we have discussed something about the steady state field, time varying field, Faraday's law, how we are going to imply the Faraday's law in a electromagnetic application, uh, Lenz's law and theory and its applications. Thank you students.